started the stream on my Streamlabs. Okay, it started now. Fine. What is going on with the Streamlabs? भाई YouTube पे stream करना is very hard to difficult है तो.
Here. Here. Forward. Reloading. Wall raised.
Spike down B.
Enemy spotted B. Enemy spotted B. Intense dust. For you. Satisfying. Careful.
One enemy remaining. 30 seconds left.
You are in our way. Spike spotted. Reloading.
Match point.
Reloading. We trained for this. Here. Keep them out. Careful. Careful.
Many enemies A.
Careful. Here.
Enemy spotted A.
Careful. Enemy spotted A. Enemy spotted A. Just
Spike planted.
enemy spotted A.
Jet grounded.
Three down.
Last player standing.
Good
One
attempt.
enemy remaining.
Wall raised.
That's how you play, Sage dude.
Defenders win.
Do not fight us again.
Match found.
वापस एप्लीकेशन लगाया मैं. अच्छा, ये क्या है? An ad delay from here, dude.
I shouldn't have to say this because, you know, my vibe, but stay clear on my explosions, okay?
Okay.
Enemy spotted mid. Enemy spotted mid.
Spike down mid.
Ouch!
Caution here.
Spike spotted mid.
Okay.
Whoa!
Reloading.
Last player standing.
What the heck? You can. What? You can throw nade there.
30 seconds left.
Bro. Bro.
Spike planted.
Quantum D. Quantum D, Quantum D.
We're here because we're the best. Don't any of you forget that. Hey, nice work.
Sage's walls are coming down. Enemy spotted mid. Enemy spotted mid.
Got one.
Down. Oh, enemy A.
Ooh.
Spike down A.
Left.
Satchel out.
Seconds left. One enemy remaining. Spike planted.
Minecraft.
Come, buddy, out.
I play Minecraft every day, bro.
See? You're stubborn. You're break.
Oh, sheesh. Sheesh.
Stay out of my home.
Sheesh.
Go get him. Come, buddy, out. There.
Come on, dude. Stop it.
Enemy spotted B.
There. Come, buddy, out. Enemy spotted catch.
Oh, Pushka, dude.
One enemy remaining.
Defuse it! 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 Defuse it!
Last round in the half.
Spend those strikes before we lose them. Anyone need something? Can I get a drop?
Thanks.
Can I get a drop? Thanks.
Come on, let's go.
Can I get a drop?
Enemy spotted.
Okay.
Enemy spotted mid.
You will not kill my ally!
Enemy spotted mid. Here comes the party.
Satchel out. Satchel out. Satchel
One enemy remaining.
out. Bomb buddy out.
Switching
Okay,
sides.
I only have like 78 grenades left. Hopefully that's enough.
What was that actually?
Satchel out. There. Thanks.
Satchel out. Time to explode.
On my way. Enemy spotted mid. Colorful kill.
Ooh.
Last player standing.
So bad, dude.
They're going to scatter from my stuff. Super easy to pick off. Can I get a drop?
Sage's walls are coming down. Enemy spotted mid.
Satchel out. Satchel out. Bomb buddy out. Bomb buddy out. Enemy spot. Satchel out. Reloading.
Enemy spotted A.
One enemy remaining.
Satchel out.
Last player standing.
You will not kill my allies.
30 seconds left.
Satchel out.
The hell? What was that?
Clutch.
No one beats my firepower. I got this. There.
Here and
There.
here.
There. There.
Here comes the party. Headshot. Enemy spotted.
See ya!
I have the spike.
Go get him.
One enemy remaining.
Satchel out.
30 seconds left. Spike down A.
Got the party. Okay, done.
Match point.
They want to dance? I'll leave.
Okay, let me read.
Anyone need something?
Let's make some chaos. I have the spike.
Go get him. Satchel out.
Player standing.
Satchel out. Satchel out. You will not kill
Who
my
opened this,
ally.
dude?
You will not kill my
30
ally.
seconds left.
You will not kill my ally.
Sudden death.
None of my stuff has malfunctioned yet. Can we celebrate that?
Caution here.
Where's the spike? Spike there.
Come on, let's go. Bomb buddy out. Satchel out. Okay. Satchel out.
What?
Caution here.
Come on, bro.
I have the spike.
Thirty seconds left. Player standing.
Mm-hmm.
Defenders win.
It's okay though. No shoes. Mm, what's this? What's this?
Knows the name Archie Karras. He's one of the most prominent legends when it comes to huge gambling swings, and his track record has cemented him as a Las Vegas legend. Was it sheer luck or something more?
I don't know.
How did Archie Karras go from being a waiter in LA to embarking on the single greatest winning streak in Vegas history? Karras went from having only $50 in his pocket to $40 million cash
What?
in roughly 2.5 years. It's known as one of gambling's biggest winning streaks,
What?
popularly dubbed The Run. Archie's multi-million-dollar streak got the who's who in the gambling world to pay attention to him. Before, Archie was nothing more than a runaway poverty-stricken teenager from Greece. Archie sat on top of a mountain of cash for 3 lucky-filled years, but sadly lost it all in a matter of days once the gambling finally caught up with him. Archie himself once said he didn't care much about the money. After all, his life wasn't exactly peaches and cream as a kid. Archie was dealt a poor hand from the start. In 1950, he was born into an impoverished family on the Greek island of Cephalonia. His dad, Nicholas, barely made enough to support his family.
Why is
6.
there
Not that he didn't have any
drawings?
particular skills. He was an exceptional
Not like
hustler. But
animations.
just like him, those who needed his services were barely scraping by, which made making a living income pretty difficult. Archie understood the dire situation from early on and was already trying to fend for himself at a young age. Unknown to him, those were the early days of his gambling career. As a teenager with no valuable skills, he'd shoot marbles and hope to win enough for a half loaf of bread. Back then, that would cost about 2.5 drachmas, the now defunct Greek currency. But that was more or less a side hustle for Archie. Archie also helped his dad in construction work, although he hated every moment of it, especially the part where he had to touch cement, which was, of course, most of the time. He voiced this discomfort to his dad one day, and that conversation didn't go very well. To show just how displeased he was, he started yelling at a young Archie and topped it off by throwing a shovel at his head. Had his dad's aim been any good, who knows what might have happened. The incident was Archie's last interaction with his dad. He immediately ran away from home and never returned. His dad succumbed
Okay,
to
that
cancer
is
4
reasonable.
years later.
You know?
Archie spent several years working as a waiter on ships and freighters for about $60
do
per
you think?
month. He finally jumped ship in Portland,
I
Oregon,
think that's reasonable.
and set out on his quest for the American dream. The 17-year-old who didn't speak a word of English finally made his way down to LA, landing a waiter gig next to a bowling alley and a pool hall. It was at
Okay.
that pool hall that Archie would launch his gambling career. Archie took particular interest in pool, and as they say, the rest is history. When he wasn't waiting tables at the restaurant, he was in the pool hall honing his skills, and it paid off big time. He began betting on pool games, even challenging his restaurant boss, who loved to shoot pool. Archie wound up making far more money betting on pool games than he ever did as a waiter. So he did the only sensible thing.
That is cool.
He quit his job and went all in on gambling. He became the most feared player in the pool hall, and most players were hesitant to face him both because of his winnings and the exceptionally high stakes he threw around. As the pool opponents ran dry, he turned to poker games, which he excelled at, building up his bankroll to $2 million. But he was a high roller, and the thing about being a high roller is that you're always a few losses away from decimating your bankroll. That's exactly what happened to Karras. Through his 20s and 30s, Archie's bankroll behaved like a roller coaster. He'd go up a few million on Monday, lose most of it by Thursday, and then be back on top of his game on Sunday. In December 1992, he was down to his last $50. He drove to the gambling capital of the U.S., the one and only Las Vegas. $50 wasn't going to do much, at least not for a high roller like Archie. If he had any chance of winning big again, he needed a backer, someone to kickstart his gambling career. Lucky for him, Karras bumped into a familiar face from LA and convinced him to loan $10,000. Lending money to someone who's going to gamble it away sure seemed like a poor financial decision. Well, unless that someone was the risk-loving Karras. Almost overnight, he turned $10,000 into $30,000 playing Raz. A
10,000 to 30,000. It's not that much actually. It's just, yeah, obviously to me, for me to say it, it's okay. It's easy, but it's just 200%.
take on 7-card stud that Karras was considered the best at. He played the $10,000 loan he owed his friend and chipped in some extra on top. The stories say it was anywhere between $5,000 and $10,000 extra for being a good friend. With his debt paid and plenty to spare, Archie was ready to conquer Las Vegas. He was about to embark on his famous winning streak, the Run. His first stop was at the pool table, playing against a supposed poker legend that Archie has never revealed to this day. In interviews, he just called him Mr. X, claiming he wanted to guard his reputation in the gambling world. The pair kicked off their 9-ball pool battle at $5,000 per game and kept raising the amount the more they played. And despite Mr. X being a legend in the game, he was finding it hard to keep up with Archie's winnings. They kept increasing the bet. It grew from $5,000 to $40,000 after a handful of games. By shooting pool with Mr. X in a Vegas bar, Karras converted his initial $10,000 to a 6-figure bankroll. The two would continue back and forth for about 2.5 months. Within that period, Karras had accumulated a nice stash of $1.2 million, but knowing who Mr. X was as far as 9-ball pool was concerned, Archie reckoned he didn't have much time before his fortunes turned. So he challenged his opponent to a game he knew he could keep winning, poker. Mr. X didn't oppose the idea, so they hit Binion's Gambling Hotel for another high-stakes run. Again, Archie maintained his winning streak, this time around raking in an extra $3 million from Mr. X,
What the
bringing his
fuck?
total winnings so far to an eye-watering $4.
Now that's impressive, you know? That is fucking impressive. That is fucking impressive, bro. 10,000 to 4 million, that is impressive. Huh? Yeah.
$4 million. Big money encouraged Archie to keep playing. He'd end up raising his stakes so high that Mr. X had to cut his losses. At that point, Karras had amassed a $7 million bankroll that he almost seemed willing to give away. For every dollar that he won, he raised the stakes significantly, which scared off lots of would-be opponents. After Mr. X was out of the picture, he sat at the table with $5 million in cash, waiting for a daring player to take him up on the challenge. Soon enough, someone stepped up. Stu Ungar, a World Series of Poker champion and a highly regarded poker player. It turns out he wasn't a match for Karras. The first round ended with Ungar losing $500,000 in a Raz game. Next up, the pair battled in 7-card stud, with Karras emerging the winner again this time, increasing his bankroll by $700,000. Chip Reese, another poker heavyweight, was the next one to challenge Archie, but just like those before him, he lost a chunk of change to Karras. At the end of their 25 games, Reese was down $2 million. Again, that meant more stakes for Archie and even fewer opponents willing to play him. But he did get challengers, eventually. Poker greats like Doyle Brunson, Johnny Chan, Puggy Pearson, and Johnny Moss all fell to Archie's prowess. 6 months after arriving in Las Vegas, he had grown the initial $10,000 loan to a $17 million stash, and he wasn't about to stop. But not so many people were willing to go up against him at the poker table. His
17.
reputation for winning,
70 or 17.
Johnny Moss, all fell to Archie's prowess. 6 months after arriving in Las Vegas, he had grown the initial $10,000 loan to a $17 million stash, and he wasn't about to stop. But not so many people were willing to go up against him at the poker table. His reputation for winning and overly high stakes scared most players off, so he turned to dice with equally high stakes combined with quick winnings. Karras seemed to enjoy it since, according to him, it was easier to win big playing dice compared to poker. To Karras, he would win or lose $1 million in one dice roll, where it might take him hours of poker to win that much. Karras was forced to cap his bets as casinos weren't willing to take them. Working within his limits, Karras grew his winnings to just over $40 million for the 2.5 years he'd been gambling in Las Vegas. But as the Germans would say, trees don't grow to the sky. Archie's streak was bound to be cut short eventually. In 1995, Karras seemingly lost his winning edge when his hunger for high-stakes games finally caught up with him. It all began in a single night when he lost $2 million at the dice table. Considering he was working with $40 million, the loss wasn't exactly damaging to his balance, but he just kept playing, probably in the hopes of winning back the $2 million and then some. He switched over to high-limit baccarat, but still bled millions from his bankroll. He wasn't willing to give up just yet. He spent 3 weeks trying to plug the hole in his bankroll, but would wind up losing $11 million playing dice, $17 million in baccarat, and $2 million playing poker. That's a staggering $30 million gone in less than a month. While he was known as a daring gambler, the losses did shake Archie a bit. As a result, he decided that a break from the tables was all he needed. With $12 million still in the bank, he left the U.S. for Greece, his homeland, for a few months. But Vegas called to Karras, and he couldn't resist her any longer. He returned and blew through $11 million on the craps table, now down to his last million. He made a stop at a bicycle club in California to try and revive his gambling career. He bet his final million on heads-up poker with Johnny Chan and managed to double his money, instead of pulling out with $2 million still in his pocket. Karras would eventually lose his last penny. He disappeared from the Sin City scene for several months. 4 months later, he was back and firing from all cylinders. He borrowed $40,000 just like he had done when he first set foot in Las Vegas and grew the amount to over $1 million in 5 days. And he didn't stop at that. Karras took the million to a different casino and managed to grow it to $5 million this time around in a matter of
What
hours.
the hell?
He was back in his element, it seemed. Unfortunately, his luck faded overnight. Karras was penniless again by sunrise. Since then, Archie has been attempting to replicate his glory, but every one of his strategies failed over and over again. He seemed interested in reviving his legacy through the World Series of Poker tournaments, as he participated in several tournaments between 2004 and 2013. His performance in the 2008 World Series of Poker wasn't anything to scoff at, but short of the glory he was looking for, he showed up with $9, hoping to tap into some past magic. That didn't happen, and he had to settle for about $19,000 in prize money. 2009 was his best year as a participant in World Series of Poker's events, cash-wise. He won a little over $53,000, which, of course, was far from what he used to rake in at casinos. In 2013, he became the talk of the town again, only this time it was for committing a mortal gambling sin. Karras was caught marking cards at a San Diego blackjack table, a damning allegation for someone of his caliber. However, this wasn't the first time Karras had run into legal trouble. He had been arrested 4 separate times in Nevada, all related to cheating. He was later charged with cheating, burglary, and winning by fraudulent means, all of which earned him 3 years probation, 73 days in jail, and fines amounting to $6,800. The offenses also dealt a huge blow to his gambling career. Archie was blacklisted by the Nevada Gaming Control Board for pleading guilty to the charges, effectively denying him access to any casino in the state. Since then, Archie Karras has maintained a pretty low profile. Details about his whereabouts today aren't publicly known. Click to watch one of these next videos.
That's sick, dude.
American businessman Terrence Watanabe is estimated to have lost over $220 million from gambling. In 2007 alone, he lost roughly $127 million at Caesars Properties in Las Vegas. That gambling run is believed to be one of the biggest losing streaks ever by anyone in Las Vegas
How
history.
did he
Terry's
have so
gambling
much
loss
capital?
for 2007 totaled roughly 5.6% of all of Caesars Vegas gambling revenue that year. It's probably safe to say that Watanabe was the biggest whale ever for any casino. So just how did it get to this dire situation for Terry Watanabe? Let's first get into how Terry had all that money to lose in the first place. Terry Watanabe inherited Oriental Trading Company, one of the first wholesaling companies established in the U.S. But this isn't the classic trust fund kid blowing his inheritance story. His dad, Harry Watanabe, founded the company in 1932. It initially started out as a gift shop, and over time, the company expanded to 17 stores throughout the Midwest in the U.S. However, important restrictions during World War II forced his dad's company to have to shrink back to just one store in their home base of Omaha, Nebraska. After the Second World War was over, the company began to take off again. Oriental Trading Company quickly became one of the biggest suppliers in the world for carnival supplies. When Terry was 15, his dad asked him if he wanted to take over the business, something that's a Japanese tradition for the firstborn son. By the time he was just 20, he was already the CEO of the company. However, Terry was gifted in business. After he took it over, Terry actually built the wholesaling business multiple times bigger than his dad. How did he do it? He shifted the focus of the company from just carnival to party supplies for all sorts of events instead. Any type of supplies for a party for almost any occasion, Oriental Trading Company sold it. Terry also decided
How
to
does he
use
run a
direct
business?
mail marketing by targeting schools, teachers, retailers, and businesses. He grew the company to over $300 million in revenue annually by the time he decided to sell the company. But that didn't come without sacrifice. Growing the company took up almost all of Terry's life. Because of his commitment to growing the company, he would travel for months at a time, looking at what suppliers had in Asia, and the Oriental Company was his life. But in 2000, Terry decided he had enough. He sold off the company his dad had started to Brentwood Associates for an undisclosed sum. Today, the company is owned by Berkshire Hathaway. Terry was ready to head off into retirement, an extremely rich man, something that it seemed like he was going to be for a long time. After selling the company, Terry's plan was to throw himself into his
dude.
philanthropic work and have more fun. In a newspaper interview with Omaha World Herald, he's quoted as saying, "If it's not fun, it's not worth doing." However,
No.
philanthropic work only takes up so many hours in a day. Wasn't quite the thrill as running a business. He came up with several business ideas, such as opening a restaurant, but all that went nowhere. Terry was getting bored in his early retirement, but he did find one easy way to fill the time back in 2003.
Gambling.
This was the way to give him the dopamine hits he lost because of selling off his big business. Terry discovered gambling, and he started playing
Nah,
at
dude,
Harris
this is
Casino
what
in
happens,
Council
dude.
Bluffs, Iowa.
Why?
This was just across the river from where he lived in Omaha. With the bankroll he had, he quickly became one of the casino's top customers. Terry's gambling didn't get out of control all at once. It was when he began going to Las Vegas beginning in 2005 when the wheels started falling off. His drinking and gambling started getting more intense. When he first
Fuck
went to
no,
Vegas,
dude.
Terry primarily stayed at the Wynn. His heavy betting and the way he played got the attention of founder and then CEO Steve
So
Wynn.
did he
He met
win all
with
that
Terry in
money?
June of 2007 after hearing all the crazy stories of how Terry would bet. In that meeting, Steve concluded that Terry was a compulsive gambler and an alcoholic. So he decided to help him in the best way that he could, and he banned him from all of Wynn's properties. Is this something Caesars executives should have considered as well? Because he was kicked out of the Wynn, Terry went to Caesars properties to play instead. Caesars welcomed his business with open arms. What Caesars executives discovered was that he gambled like no one else they had ever seen. In fact, according to court documents, they came up with a special algorithm to come up with offers that they would only give to Terry and no one else. For example, tickets to shows such as the Rolling Stones for big players were normal. A monthly credit for $12,500 a month for airfare and $500,000 in credit at the gift stores is not normal. Caesars also offered 15% cash back on table losses greater than $500,000. Supposedly, it was up to 30% cash back on certain other high-limit game incentives, but Terry claimed that Caesars reneged on their promises. His playing got so big, Caesars actually created his own special status for the first time called Chairman. This was above Caesars 7 stars, which is the highest publicly known tier status someone can get. Terry would always stay for free in the biggest suite available at Caesar's Palace. He always had access to his favorite lucky bartender, and he always drank a special brand of vodka called the Jewel of Russia. He was constantly surrounded by assistants who would do practically everything and anything he wanted. It all came crashing down when Caesars took Terry to court. He was charged with 4 counts for intent to defraud and steal from Caesars. But Terry wanted Caesars to take some responsibility too for his losses. But Caesars basically told him to be a big boy and live with the choices that he made. Terry admitted himself that he was a compulsive gambler. He claimed that Caesar's palace deliberately exploited him and that they kept him at the tables as long as possible. But isn't that what almost all casinos do? When is the line crossed? According to Terry, casino staff routinely gave him plenty of alcohol and prescription meds as part of their systematic plan to keep him gambling. Terry refused to pay up roughly $14.7 million that Caesars had extended to him as credit. Of course, Terry had lost all of that credit, but he had had enough. He already lost enough money to the casino. He had already lost over $200 million from gambling, and he was ready to fight back in court. His main argument he had planned to clear his outstanding debt wasn't only centered on Caesar's negligence to stop him from playing, but it was also on their supposed encouragement for him to keep playing even though they knew he had had enough. Allegedly, employees would see Terry floating in and out of consciousness while gambling at the tables. These allegations only surfaced when Caesars took him to court. For Terry, it seems like his allegations were right. Several Caesars employees had said that their managers told them to let him continue betting even while he was in no shape to play. Casino rules and state law clearly state that anyone who's clearly drunk is not allowed to gamble. And these employees were afraid that they'd be fired if they did anything to stop Terry from playing. Caesar's company policy at the time was to politely ask any drunk players to stop gambling. Was that a tactic that actually works? Terry's lawyer said that Caesars preyed on his condition, but at the same time, Terry did want to shoulder his part of the blame. He knew that he drank too much. But where's the line on encouraging someone to do something once they're under the influence? Terry's situation is the classic relationships casinos have with their whales. But the truth is, the player doesn't have to be a whale to get a little bit of special treatment. Anyone with a little bit of money can have their own host. Casinos cater to big gamblers by giving out free luxury suites, the use of private jets, and an army of personal assistants to help out any player that plays big enough. But again, the big question is, where is the line drawn? It's already hard enough to try to control a regular person that drinks too much. It's extra hard to try to control rich and powerful people who are not used to hearing the word no. There have been plenty of cases where rich gamblers have tried to turn the blame around on casinos and lawsuits, even if none of them are successful. For example, in 1993, the former late owner of
Oh
the
shit,
Philadelphia
did my
Eagles,
camera
Leonard
die?
Post, failed to get any money back when he sued Hollywood Casino over his gambling losses. His argument was that it was Hollywood employees' fault for getting him to drink so much to the point that he didn't know what he was doing when he gambled away millions of dollars in Atlantic City. How often do casinos have to deal with gamblers that don't
Keep
want to
looking
pay
now.
up? It's
Yeah.
actually a pretty common case. For casinos in Nevada, any
it
unpaid
hot?
gambling debt is a criminal matter, so it's a
No.
pretty serious charge. It makes sense that this is something casinos would lobby hard for. Clark County, which is the county Las Vegas is a part of, prosecutes hundreds of cases involving gambling debts a month. Of course, most of the cases are not in the millions of dollars. But just like the huge whales, people with unpaid casino debts will sometimes try to get out of criminal charges by claiming that casinos kept them drinking. This kind of defense never works. The rule of courts in all cases is that nobody made anyone drink. But regulators do fine casinos for letting people gamble who are visibly drunk. Isn't that almost saying a casino has a part in the losses? And not all casinos are the same. There are casinos out there who will stop people from playing if they're behaving erratically. And they'll especially stop someone from playing if they suspect they won't pay their debts. But don't think that it's something they're doing out of the kindness of their hearts. They basically treat it as a cost-benefit decision. This is according to Glenn Christensen, who's a former Station Casino's chief financial officer. Caesars maintained that they treated Terry just like any other player. The only difference was that he was the biggest player. But this is most likely not true. Probably the biggest reason why Caesars wanted him to play was because he was a bit unusual in his gambling. Well, at least for when it comes to someone who plays so big. Terry didn't just play the usual whale games of blackjack, and baccarat. He often spent hours playing roulette, slots, and keno. These were exactly all the worst games to play because they're clear examples of games where the house has a massive edge. Casino management supposedly referred to him as a house player because he always went for the games where they were clearly favored to win. Supposedly, even when he did play the best game to play, blackjack, he would make such terrible decisions at the table that it didn't matter anyways. Several Caesars employees said in court that Terry would stay at the tables for up to 24 hours a session. They've also sometimes seen him lose as much as $5 million in a single session. Management apparently accelerated his losses by raising the limits for him. For example, they allowed him to play 3 blackjack hands simultaneously with a $50,000 limit for each hand. Also, Caesars always extended credit for him when he wanted. At one point, his credit at Caesars was a whopping $17 million, according to court documents. Most of the gambling was done when Terry was drinking. Obviously, there wasn't an official written out corporate policy to keep him drinking, but staff knew just how much money he was dumping to the casinos because he was literally their #1 customer that year. Supposedly, a picture of him was up in the employees' back rooms. When he drank too much, no one wanted to be the one to cut him off. It was a lose-lose situation for the staff working. They were afraid of what upper management would do if he stopped because they told him to, and they were in danger of losing out on any big tips. His tips were almost as legendary as his gambling. According to court documents, he regularly handed out to Caesars employees bundles of $100 bills that could total as much as 20 grand. Terry's personal handlers told the courts that he also had thousands of Tiffany gift boxes that had $50 to $100 gift cards. He would hand the boxes to any employee that was taking care of him, from bartenders to security guards. Now, as for Caesar's alcohol policy at that time, the company tells its employees to ask people who have clearly had too much to drink to only refrain from gambling as required under state regulations. Employees also attend a responsible gaming class every year where they learn how and when to tell gamblers to leave the casino. Then there's a phone number that employees can call to anonymously report unethical or improper behavior by other employees. There were no reports that anyone called the number regarding to Terrence Watanabe. After his record-losing year, Terry was back in Las Vegas gambling for a period in 2008. But ever since then, he got help that year and hasn't entered a casino since. For what it's worth, Caesars was fined $225 grand because they allowed Terry to keep gambling even though it was clear he was drinking too much. Caesars and Terry eventually settled his debt out of court. Unfortunately, in 2017, Terry was in need of money for prostate cancer treatment. He had prostate cancer that required surgery that cost roughly $100,000, something he couldn't afford. His GoFundMe stopped accepting donations when it hit $28,610. Hopefully it was because an old friend who had a lot of money saw what was going on and decided to help out. Here's what's next.
What? He was worth for what, 200 million? Fucking hell, bro. Anyways, let's just maybe play one game and then I'll go to the gym. What is this?
Match found.
This is bind. Like, that's it. Let's go. Okay. I wanted to play Viper, but it's okay. Apa na that? Is my working fine? Is my stream working fine? Let's check. Double that. Is it NASA launched today? Are you serious? I want to watch it. Can I watch it? I don't think so.
Go get him.
Shaman banda re. Matlab you're
Going
watching
B.
it.
Enemy spotted B. Just grounded. See ya.
I thought he checked it, dude.
Multiple enemies B.
Bomb
Just grounded.
One enemy
It's
remaining.
grounded.
Last player standing.
This is really nice. No?
You're up. Stay
Staying.
safe. We're going back in.
Next time, maybe I'm gonna get a fucking carton of it.
Reloading. I need to blow something up. Bomb buddy out. That's grounded. Reloading.
Enemy spotted A.
Multiple enemies B. Okay. That's grounded. Satchel out. Satchel out. Satchel out.
Ciao.
Oh, you want to hear to kill her? Hell.
One enemy remaining. Thirty seconds left. Ten seconds left.
Did she teleport? When did she teleport?
Enemy spotted A.
When did she teleport? Dude?
Surrounded by reloading. Very nice work. We won't lose. Reloading. Can I get a drop?
Need help.
Come on, Nikki, please.
Caution here. Enemy spotted A. Here comes the party. Multiple enemies A. Enemy spotted B.
get him.
30 seconds left.
Dropped.
One enemy remaining. Spike down A.
Satchel out.
Okay, take quick, guys.
Last round before the switch.
Spend those creds before we go set.
How is this quality?
Can I get a
Not
drop?
bad.
Thanks.
Let's see if I can change
Anyone
that
need
now.
something? No. Yes. Ha! They don't have a chance.
Get out of my way! 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 Bomb buddy out.
Enemy spotted A.
Caution here.
There.
Enemy spotted.
Bro!
Satchel out.
One enemy remaining. Last player standing.
What is that?
Thirty seconds left.
Are you serious,
Spike
dude?
planted.
What the hell is that?
Satchel out.
Switching sides.
Sorry, ear's still ringing. Let's go here.
So smoother, actually.
Gone here.
Let's flush them out. Bomb buddy out. Enemy spotted B.
Go get him.
Enemy spotted B.
Go get him. There. That's it. Someone's in defender spawn.
One enemy
Death
remaining.
round. Satchel out.
Player standing. Match point.
Who said this wouldn't be fun? I'm having a blast.
Let's go here.
Tear them down.
Satchel out. Satchel out.
Reloading.
Enemy spotted A.
Bomb buddy out.
Spike down A.
Spike carriers down.
Attacked so many people, dude.
Bomb buddy out. I have the spike.
Last player standing.
They're going to scatter from my stuff. Super easy to pick off. Reloading.
Streaming on YouTube is so hard, dude. It is so hard to get your
Can I get a drop?
everything right,
Thanks.
settings and shit.
Let's make 'em dance.
Get out of my way!
Satchel out.
Get out of my way!
Satchel out. Death's ground. Bomb buddy out. Satchel out. Caution here.
Get out of my way!
Spike down A. Last player standing. A. One enemy remaining.
Anyone have any splints? I may have jabbed my fingers. Multiple fingers. Can I get a drop? Thanks. Thanks. Can I get a drop? There. Come on, let's go. Can I get a drop? Bomb buddy out.
Enemy spotted me.
Okay. Bomb buddy out.
Get out of my way!
Death grounded. Satchel out. Satchel out. Plant the spike.
Here comes the fight.
Spike planted.
Here comes the
Okay.
fight.
One enemy remaining.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Attackers win.
Yes. As colorful as Gundam. Reloading. Satchel out.
Brazil. What the fuck? Arey yaar, this guy. Here's my school friend. One kill. Sick.
Match found.
I haven't played with my account, the other account since last act, last to last act.
Jade, you're very talented. Thanks
Hello.
for the nick. Easy kill. Reloading. Barrier created.
One down.
Spike down A.
अरे जिस कैसे गया बे?
One enemy remaining.
I don't die so easily.
Here. Now I know how annoying my feeling can be.
No prisoners. Target sighted. Multiple targets. Rest. Target sighted.
Spike down C. One enemy remaining.
Nice. That
Spike is
sucks.
C.
Everyone's motor functions okay? I know humans get tired.
Right here. We win, we survive. There. Authentic. Wonderful. Best. Enemy spotted A.
Suppressor.
Here.
Flash.
Last player standing. Spike planted. One enemy remaining.
Don't rush me.
If you're not a good shot today, don't worry. There are other ways.
Who's next?
Target sighted C. Return to dust. Enemy spotted C.
Spike planted.
Bye.
Enemy
Last player
You
standing.
will not kill my allies. See ya.
One enemy remaining.
3. Blocking sight.
Clutch.
Easy.
Jet, you were the wind. So powerful. Well done.
Can someone get this? Can someone get this? Need a drop. Can someone get this?
I'm with you to the end, Sova. Enemy suppressed.
For you. Careful.
Take flight.
Reloading.
Reloading.
One enemy remaining.
Revealing area.
Sucks.
Phenomenal. We trained for this.
Can someone get this? Can someone get this? Need a drop. We are immovable. Can someone get this?
Who's next?
There.
Here.
Spike planted.
Oh, I've got your trail.
Message sent.
Target sighted A. Flash.
Careful. Healer down.
One enemy remaining.
Blocking sight.
Use the spike.
This
Flashbang.
is nothing.
Last player standing.
Thank you.
Clutch.
Stand tall. We are Valorant. We are fighters.
He's my friend, bro.
We go.
You are powerless.
Careful. Spike planted.
Careful.
Cutting their vision.
Careful here. Die. Enemy spotted C bunker.
Last player standing.
Oops.
Activating kill mode. That's a joke. Kill mode is default.
Okay.
Need repairs. They will cover. Need repairs.
Impressive.
Your duty is not over.
Cool. For you.
What's this? No charges left.
Spike planted.
Flashbang.
Blocking sight.
Shutting them down. Grenade out.
Last player
So bad.
standing.
So bad.
Still in sight.
I'll survive a dent or two. Can't say the same for you fragile units.
I have to go gym. I have to go gym.
We are ready for them.
Who's
Careful.
next?
भाई कोई तो आओ भाई.
Spike planted.
I've got your trail.
You're done.
One enemy remaining.
What the hell are you doing?
Don't rush me.
Last player standing. Clutch.
They demand a fight. Who are we to disobey?
इतना शांति हो गया सब कुछ. Oh sheesh, man.
Spike planted. Last player standing.
This B.
They will cover.
Everywhere.
The enemy only looks composed. Their heart's still a different story.
Spike down. C.
Powerless.
What is going on, dude? जा जाके मर क्यों रहा है भाई?
Spike planted.
Enemy killed. Opponent killed.
One enemy remaining.
Blocking sight. Reloading. Oh, is that important?
Shot down.
Last round in the half.
Don't be cheap. When did all
Need a drop.
Come into the unknown.
Barrier created.
Enemy spotted. There they are.
You will not kill my allies.
Shutting them down.
Enemy spotted. A. Source.
One enemy remaining.
Out front. Blocking sight. Blocking sight.
Switching sides.
When weak by myself. That's when we strike.
There.
There.
Here. Watching here.
There.
Yes.
Here. As one. Watching here. Yes. Scanning ahead.
Enemy down.
Throwing chalk.
One enemy remaining.
Enemy spotted A.
Right deployed. Enemy suppressed there.
Enemy spotted
Long.
Reloading.
No charges left.
I am honored.
Everyone's motor functions okay? I know humans get tired. Gun here. Gun here. Suppressor. They're suppressed. Reloading.
Night night.
Gun here. Plant the spike.
Healing you.
Reloading.
3.
One enemy remaining. Spike down B.
Enemy spotted mid. Reloading.
Reloading. They're just batteries.
I need a recharge.
Impressive.
Need a drop.
Forgive me. Forgive me. Forgive me. Forgive me.
Deep breath.
Cutting the door. Reloading.
Enemy spotted C.
Enemy spotted C.
Enemy down. Eliminate. Wall raised.
Spike planted. Scanning ahead.
Reloading.
Last player standing.
I know what must be done.
There.
Can someone thank you?
Thank you.
What the hell is this?
There.
Take out their healer.
There. There.
Shutting them down.
Nailed
Barrier
it.
created.
I need healing.
Blocking sight.
I
Healing.
need healing.
Planted.
Careful. Ooh. much left.
One enemy remaining.
Your life can go to waste.
Act on my impulse. Don't give them time to reposition.
Careful here.
Need a drop. Blocking sight.
See nothing. Reloading.
One enemy remaining.
They're just pissing me off, dude. Actually, they're just pissing me off.
There.
Need a drop. Need a drop. Need a drop.
Continue to overwhelm them.
Enemy spotted here. Ay, corazón.
Blocking sight. Blocking sight.
Spike down A.
Pardon their vision.
Last player standing.
Come on, bro.
Revealing area.
He knifed our right now.
I'm amped. Let's go. I got things to do. Need a drop.
Need a drop, thank you. No prisoners. Impressive. Target sighted C. Embarrassing.
Our spike carrier is blue.
Spike down C. One enemy remaining. Last player standing. Clutch.
Enemies close. Eyes up.
Yeah, public.
Can someone thank you? Caution. There. I have to check.
What the hell? 94? How can I hit 94 with an AWP? dude?
Flash.
Scanning ahead.
Still in sight. Enemy spotted B.
You are powerless. Target sighted.
I have this back.
Cutting their vision.
Player standing. Spike down mid.
Dismiss!
If I power down, restart me. You leave me with scrap. I'll
Need a
kill
drop.
you.
Need a drop.
Embarrass them.
Caution.
Bye. Blocking sight.
Spike carrier's dead. Spike down A. Last player standing.
What are you doing, dude?
I'm the last thing they'll see before they die.
Need a drop.
Lucky them.
Need a drop.
Need a drop. Thank you.
Everyone is gonna get butt fucked, I'm telling you.
Enemy spotted C.
I've
got
got your trail.
Last player standing. Flawless.
Dumb.
Match point.
I'll shut them down. Until then, survive.
Need a drop. Thank you.
Can someone get this? Thank you.
What's this?
Enemy spotted C.
Shutting them down.
Reloading.
Reload. Plant the spike.
Wall raised.
That is huge snipe.
No charges left. Your duty is not over.
One enemy remaining.
I'll survive in danger too. Can't say the same.
This is gonna be fun. Careful.
Who's next?
Scanning ahead.
आ जाओ बे कोई साथ में.
Spike drop.
Spike retrieved.
This guy just go AFK again. Yes.
Sudden death. As much as this world hurt me, it's mine.
Need a drop.
And I will kill to defend it.
Need a drop.
Need a drop.
What?
Need a drop.
What is going on? Why don't I have any crits?
No prisoners.
Enemy suppressed.
Enemy spotted C.
Here. Careful.
Enemy reloading.
Spike drop.
I have the spike.
How does this guy not die? सेज को रिपोर्ट करो ओके.
$30 seconds left. Last player standing.
Spike down, C.
One enemy remaining.
I have the
Plant,
spike.
plant, come on, plant.
10 seconds left.
Spike planted.
Let's go.
Clutch. Attackers win.
Your healer.
That was okay. 512. I gotta go 5:30 gym, and then maybe at night I will stream again. Thank you.